Today we're going to stain a spruce wood deck with a natural and eco-friendly wood oil. Spruce is commonly used for deck construction in Quebec and is a very fragile material. If not properly protected, the boards will gray under the sun, absorb water, blacken, and eventually begin to rot. We're going to explain how to properly prepare a deck surface for finishing by using Alice by Livos natural oils to protect, extend the life of, and highlight the natural beauty of the wood grain. We have 5 boards here. One is spruce, 2 are brown and green treated, 1 is cedar, and the other is ipewood. This decking lumber is commonly found on the market. We have 2 products here. Alice 579 Natural Wood Oil is a deep penetrating product that requires 2 coats to protect the wood against exposure to moisture and UV rays. You should apply a thin coat to your deck every 2 years. Dono's 223 Natural Wood Oil is a product for vertical surfaces that can also be used on horizontal surfaces. It offers the same protection as other Alice products, but is less expensive and requires twice as many applications. There are several types of deck sealant. We can separate them into 3 categories: paints, stains, and natural oils. The age and type of wood, as well as whether the surface of the deck was adequately prepared beforehand, are variables that make controlling color difficult. The advantage of paint is that it makes it easier to control color. However, paint completely conceals wood grain and requires frequent maintenance because it will inevitably crack, peel, and flake. Stains are a translucent alternative to paint. By applying several coats of stain, we end up covering the wood grain. However, if the coats are too thin, the deck won't be adequately sealed. For this reason, it's difficult to maintain a long-term, polished finish with a stain. The advantage of natural wood oils is that they are saturating formulas that seep into the wood surface. As a result, it isn't necessary to sand the deck after maintenance. If the oil is applied without oversaturating the wood, the product will withstand cracking, peeling, and flaking. As you will see in this video, it's important to properly prepare the surface of your deck, including sanding the surface before starting. This step will only be necessary once, after which maintenance will only consist of simply cleaning the surface and applying the thin coat of product as needed. It's difficult to predict exactly how often the deck will need to be maintained. The durability of the finish depends on several factors, such as how well the surface was prepared beforehand, how the product is applied, and whether the deck is exposed to direct sunlight. We want to refresh the surface to obtain color results similar to the original look. If you follow the recommended maintenance steps but find the color too dark after application, just skip maintenance altogether. Some competitors claim that their products can last up to 6 years without regular maintenance. As a company that prides itself on our transparency, we prefer not to deliver false promises. It is true that a deck that is in indirect sunlight, sheltered from rain and the elements, and on which there is little foot traffic will last much longer. The first step is to clean the wood. Avoid pressure washers which damage the surface of the wood. If you do decide to use a power washer, don't direct the water jet too closely to the deck. Livos 1806 by Livos is a product that cleans decks by removing dirt, mildew, fungus, and other contaminants that prevent the product from penetrating the wood. Depending on the state of your deck, you may have to start by sanding with a coarser paper like 60 or 40 grit. This might be necessary to prepare a heavily damaged surface to completely rid the deck of residue from previously applied stains and varnishes. Otherwise, you can start right away with 80 grit sandpaper. Sanding the deck with up to 100 grit sandpaper and an orbital sander like this one is a critical step to remove mill glaze and to obtain even wood porosity. If wood porosity differs from one area to the next, the color will vary as well. Once the wood is planed, the blades close up the wood grain, preventing the absorption of wood oil and keeping pigment on the surface of the wood. Avoid this at all costs. Another common error is not changing sandpaper sheets frequently enough. This clogs the pores of the wood and prevents product from adequately saturating the wood. A good tip to follow for successful sanding is marking it with a pencil. If sanding does not remove the pencil mark completely, you need to sand more or change your sandpaper. The deck is now sanded, wood porosity is even, and the surface is ready for oiling. When you open the container, particularly after second use, check that a skin or film hasn't formed on the surface of the product. If one has, remove it and blend the contents until there is no pigment buildup on the stirring stick like this. It's important to always do a test on a small area of wood before starting your project to be sure that you are satisfied with both the color and the finish of the product. We are now in the process of applying the finish to the treated wood. Next, we will do a test on the cedar board. We apply a bit of oil on the spruce board like we did on our deck. You'll notice that the color is much darker because of the already green or brown color of the treated wood. The oil enhances the beauty of the wood grain, giving a beautiful but very different finish to the wood. Contractors like this type of product, especially on cedar and exotic wood decks, because they rarely achieve desired results with conventional stains. Particularly on exotic woods that tend to be so hard and dense that no product manages to seep into the grain. Because of the natural dyes in our product, color can vary slightly between production lots. Factors that can considerably affect the final color of the finish include whether the wood was properly prepared for oiling beforehand and the age of the wood. It's essential that you do a color test on a small area of wood before proceeding to the application of the product. You always want to be sure that the results correspond to what you want before doing the entire deck. It is also strongly recommended that you test the product for adherence. If the oil doesn't penetrate the wood properly, it's a sign that it's either incompatible with your wood surface or the moisture level in the wood is too high. In either case, you either need to clean the surface, sand more thoroughly, or wait until the humidity level in the wood decreases. In this case, the wood has been well prepared. We did a test on the spruce board and we are completely satisfied with the color. The surface of our deck is clean and dry. Our deck is ready for oil application. We'll now apply Alice 579 in light teak. This has been the most popular color in Livos' outdoor product range for several years now. We can either apply as a spray or with a brush like this one. The goal is to saturate the wood with the product without oversaturating. Be sure to apply the product when it is 10 degrees Celsius or warmer out. Also, to be sure the wood is dry, clean, and free of dust, you can protect the surface the day before oiling by laying down a tarp on your clean deck. By applying the oil in a way that does not oversaturate the wood, you don't need to worry about product lap because the wood can only absorb what you apply. And because the deck has been evenly sanded, the oil will be absorbed evenly, so color shouldn't vary. This product is easy and quick to apply and spreads very well. As you can see, there are no lap marks. The product dries to a durable and water-repellent finish. Conventional paints and stains have a tendency to overlap, leave marks, and dry too quickly. They are difficult to work with when applying. It's important to evenly spread the product in order to prevent buildup. The objective is to saturate the wood, not leave a superficial layer sitting on the surface. Normally, the first coat will use 2 times more product than the second coat, so when it comes to maintenance, it ends up being really advantageous long term. If you're finishing a large project, such as a deck that is 500 square feet or larger, spray application could be a better option. If you decide to spray, saturate the surface and then smooth the surface down with a brush. The frequency of the maintenance varies considerably depending on exposure and the quality of the application. Clean the patio with Chloros 1806 at the end of every winter to prevent accumulation of dirt, moss, and microalgae. Revive the finish with Alice 579 when the color becomes dull. Note that maintaining your deck too frequently will result in a deck finish becoming darker and darker. If your deck is getting too dark over time, it's a sign that maintaining every 2 years is too much. Now that we've applied Alice 579, it's important to wait at least 18 hours to allow the product to dry in ideal conditions. At 25 degrees Celsius and around 50% humidity so that the deck dries completely. If conditions become warmer, colder, or more humid, we recommend observing a longer drying time. We let our spruce deck dry for 18 hours. We can see that even after drying, the surface is quite a bit darker on the treated wood because of the green color added during the treatment. The advantage of applying 2 coats instead of only one is that the wood grain will be sufficiently saturated and will be better protected against the sun and inclement weather. The second coat also lends a more even color application, especially around the knots or end grain. This time we'll apply a very thin coat of oil. If the wood was well saturated with the first coat, we can easily expect to use 2 times less product than when we did the first coat. Applying oil for the first time is impressive. Oil isn't a surface product, but a saturating product. So the goal is not to leave a layer of product on the surface, but rather to respect the wood's absorption capacity. This is the advantage of using natural wood oils over any other deck finishing product. This product is a deep penetrating oil, meaning it absorbs into the wood and doesn't crack, doesn't peel, and doesn't flake if the wood's absorption capacity is respected. In addition, it isn't necessary to sand at every maintenance. We simply want to replace product worn down by sunlight. After approximately 5 to 10 minutes, we're ready to go over with our brush to spread the product evenly. Before finishing, here's a tip to avoid spontaneous combustion. Oilcloths, polishing discs, and applicators should always be stored in airtight metallic containers or submerged in water prior to disposal. And there you go. You now have a great deck that you can admire at your leisure. We have here a beautiful finish that really highlights the natural beauty of the wood grain, and if you respect the wood's absorption capacity, you'll never have to sand again. Take full advantage of your deck. We can't wait to see pictures of your projects. So join us on Facebook to participate in our community of like-minded followers who appreciate our natural, eco-friendly products. See you soon.